many organizations coming together and working purely for science and research. Good morning all. We are now in the last phase of Indraprastha Webinar Series. The theme for today's session is Science, Technology and Innovation, an Industrial Perspective. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our speakers for today. We have speakers from industry with us. Please welcome to today's session Dr. Ajay Godara, Director, Strategy and Marketing. And there is a company name which is very difficult for me to pronounce. Dr. Ajay, you have to teach us that. And he's from Belgium. And Dr. Gopala Krishna Behara, Distinguished Member of Technical Staff, Wipro Digital. Technical perspective is very crucial in the current scenario. It helps us view the problems in a different light, opening up new pathways for research and innovation, while also keeping in mind the practicality of the project. They are both experienced, inspiring, and fascinating individuals, hugely successful in their respective fields. We are grateful that they accepted our invitation for today's session to share their wisdom and present us with an industrial perspective. Thank you.
Our first speaker for the day is Dr. Ajay Godara. Dr. Godara has 15 plus years international work experience in product innovation and development to business transformation. Since 2011, in AB InBev, an FMCG largest beer company, he is responsible for setting up new strategic business development projects and playing key role in product innovation. He holds overall ownership and lead for the end-to-end delivery of projects by turning insight into customer value addition product features, framing and sizing opportunity aligned with strategic framework, driving the decision across the senior management and setting cross-functional project teams across organizations globally. He has previously worked in business development for Bacterial, Belgium, and sales for GlaxoSmith, India. Dr. Godara obtained his PhD in material science from Max Planck Institute and RWTH, Germany, Masters in Chemical Engineering from KU Leuven, Belgium, Masters in Chemistry from GJU University, Hisar. He did his executive course in Marketing Innovation from Harvard Business School. Dr. Godara will today speak on 1.5 meter economy. Welcome, Dr. Godara. Please give your talk.
Thank you, everyone. I think there is an echo, right? So hope it works well now. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate the warm welcome and giving me an opportunity to interact with you all. That was a really mouthful introduction. So let me make it simple. Who am I and from where I'm coming? We will get to that. But let's get to first, as I promised, that I'm not going to download or I'm not going to talk at all about Corona, because that's, you guys are amazing in that. So I'm trying to share my screen if it works. So as I promised, I'm not going to talk about Corona, and I will take you through in a very simple way what's our take from industrial side, how Corona is impacting us. I will also take the liberty to combine my talk in English and Hindi, if that's all right. That helps me to make my point rather in a simple way instead of complicated way. So once again, a big respect to Indian police. They instilled the discipline in people and they dedicated their services, getting everything under control. These are the nice pictures, but there are also some even nicer with the LUT, which they made amazing discipline. And so big respect to that. Moving on, my context here is just to give you a perspective that the world which we know today and the world which we are enjoying, and what will be after COVID, what will be the world we will know and live. So that's a bit of a context of my presentation and the talk. So this is the world I come from. As I said, I'm not going to talk much about COVID, but that's the world I come from, and I'm going to talk about AB InBev. The name of the company is Anheuser-Busch Interbrew. So it's a big conglomerate combination of many beer brewing companies, which is present worldwide. But that's not a company presentation. Just a snapshot. The brands which we own, probably some of you guys enjoy, but I will insist that enjoy responsibly, right? So these brands are available everywhere, and this is the world which I'm coming from. I'm trying to connect my scientific background with the beer world. So that's very different from many of other very amazing speakers you might have heard since last 4 days. So must be tiring for 4 days listening to others. So that I admire your patience. So bear with me for 10-15 minutes. What we stand for is, or what our world stand for is that we give people, our consumers, a chance to enjoy everyday moments. So that's where we stand. Also, we have an amazing contribution in the celebration. We bring people together. So all this thing has been impacted in a big time by the current circumstances. And well, we are also bit relevant in cricket. We haven't cracked, honestly, the code that how we can grow in India. So we are trying our level best, but we are not big. But that's not the point. The point is we are trying, and probably we will contribute much more to the Indian society in moving forward. So overall, my message here is the world which we know today is the world which brings people together. It brings friendship, happiness, cooperation, and it creates memories. It's fun, it's social, it's leisure, and that's what we are worried about. That how exactly the new situation will change this world, and I'm trying to give that in a second. So that's where I start. That's the context of my talk, and that's from where this weird name comes from. कि भाई ये 1.5 मीटर इकोनॉमी क्या मतलब है इसका, what does it mean? So it's in a very simple way. We are impacted heavily just by this simple equation, just by the context of a social distancing of 1.5 meter. The amazing impact on our business is just unimaginable. So you can imagine that today we have 100 people in a bar. Tomorrow, because of 1.5 meter, there will be only probably 1/3 of that. How many businesses will survive? They will go bankrupt. And then how many venues will open who will be under financial stress? How many consumers will be coming back to those bars? And then after that, how many people will keep coming back? How much they will spend? Because they are all worried about their future. They are all worried about, they don't feel comfortable in that close environment. So in the end, it's not question of talking about the numbers. We do have numbers, how it will impact, but that's not important. The context is super important here, that how exactly this simple 1.5 meter social distancing will impact the businesses. So a big number is like probably in next 6 months, one of the channel where we sell our product. So we sell our product in supermarkets and we sell our product in bars. So especially the area where we sell in bar, that will be almost reduced to 30% of our current business. So that's a big impact. And then you can imagine how it will impact the company, people, supply chain, all the partners and everybody. So that's the bit of a context of 1.5 meter impact. You can clearly see that we contribute a lot to sports. Our brands are associated with football, basketball, a little bit to cricket, and anything you can imagine. And all the sports are closed. There are absolutely no gathering at all, which drives our business. So we have a huge impact. It's easy to say that stay at home, but I think it's a much bigger impact on industries, and that will change the world the way we see it today and the way it will be in the future. Can take another leaf here, that's one of also our big business, that you can imagine that hundreds and hundreds of consumers sitting outside across Western world, where the culture of enjoying social beer behavior is extremely important. Well, we almost lost it. They're all closed now. Almost like 70% of this business is done. So it's a huge impact. It's unimaginable. All the cinema, all the concerts, all the music venues, or everything is canceled and stopped. You can see yourself how the crowd and consumers used to be and how they are today. So being in conscious of a time I'm running through, but I think this is something where I want to spend a bit of a time from my side, that we have a unique opportunity at this pivot point. And why I call a pivot point is that being in the material science field for so many years and developing products, with all my honesty, I felt in last few years that we have exhausted. We have exhausted new ideas. We have exhausted how to create new products. We exhausted how to connect those research to some of the new value-adding products. And the reason is because it was almost saturated, and whatever we were doing, they were much more costly, non-efficient, and that was not a business viable solution. Cost ज़्यादा थी, उसकी वजह से आप प्रोडक्ट नहीं बना पा रहे, कोई इनोवेशन नहीं है, उसी चीज को दोबारा से हम करे जा रहे हैं. So I think this COVID has given us amazing opportunity to reopen the envelope and bring out some meaningful innovations, not just to do something to new, but really a meaningful innovation. And by that means we need to capture some of the insights. Like one of it is the polarized consumers. So on one side, almost we have a youngster who really want to go out, who last probably 3-4 months seeing their friends going out, have a fun enjoyment, and the moment it's open, they will go out. So that's one set of a consumers. Another set of a consumer is like Dr. Gulshan, who always reluctant to go out, and now he found a reason even stronger, pushed by family and everything, being in the kitchen, staying there, cooking, and just be there. And then another set of a consumer who will persist to buy local. And when we say local, like all these big supermarkets, they're great, they're awesome, but I think the future might be more with the small stores, which is next to your house. People will just go quickly, buy something, and come back. Those kind of things. Also delivered at home. Second, more and more people are staying at home, working from home. So kind of everything will be driven, the all consumption and delivery towards home. There will be much more home party and fun instead of going outside. So you can imagine that the consumer behavior has changed, and that change is normal. And how we as a product development community can react to that. That's number one. And the second is the impact of this polarized consumer behavior is on all the world which we know today, like bars and concerts and external world. So that will be also impacted in a big way. There will be only few places, but better places. I don't know how you guys are experiencing जब आप बाहर जाते हैं तो कितने रेस्टोरेंट ओपन हैं, कितने बंद हैं, और जो ओपन हैं वही रेस्टोरेंट्स ओपन होंगे जहाँ पे बहुत सारा स्पेस है, that where you can have a really good social distancing, where you can manage the legality, where you can make your consumers comfortable. And all these things like festivals are all gone. All these musicians, they are making all these virtual concerts, and there are already calendars outside. So everyone is trying to innovate. Everyone is trying to innovate not only the product, but also the model. How they gonna help their consumers, and how gonna they react to this new world. And that's where I come, that we need to have a mindset of transformation and disrupt. So first thing is, the things which we were not able to do, which were basic, but we were not able to do because of the cost. I think today is an opportunity to do those things. I will give some examples in the next slide. Digital, I don't need to explain. India is way advanced even from European countries, that how all these payments are done, contactless ordering, everything. But one thing probably we can do a lot more is two sectors. One is like health and wellness. I think that needs to improve. And also something really about the sedate life which we will have sitting in front of a computer 8 hours a day. That will be a big threat to our health. So I think we need to do something towards the health, physical activities, and you can already see some transformation, that all these yoga gurus or mental gurus, everybody has started giving online classes and everything. So I think this whole context is super important, and we should be super excited that us as a scientific community, as a researchers, the envelope of product development, envelope of research is open, and how we can take advantage of that. So if my screen is not frozen, so that's how I say that there is an amazing opportunity to bridge this gap. And this is a bit of a provocation. I'm not undermining the efforts which goes into research. Please don't take me wrong. But I'm just trying to make my point here. And the point is, being in research, being in the area of getting funding, using the buzzword, all these, and from European Union, etc. So most of the time, research is driven by new topic, and it gets funded. Sorry for that. Nothing against Dr. Shruti or Dr. Aggarwal. Please excuse me for that. Second, gap in previous work. Third, new techniques or new materials which are coming, and we recharacterize them and we publish, and that works very well. And then combining it with simulations. So that's most of the time research work. Maybe I have oversimplified it. I want to give you a context how commercial product development works. So it's not very different, but it's just a different way of thinking. So we turn, let's a new topic or new gap in previous work, we turn into insights. So that's a desirability part. So how it is desired by consumers, what consumers are looking for. For example, in my previous slide, I gave you a context that consumers are not comfortable going outside. So we need to understand why they are not comfortable, and we need to keep asking the question, why? And eventually we will figure it out, that what's the problem actually. The problem might come, and I will explain you in a bit how you can do that. Then obviously from a business point of view, we need to understand how big is that problem. कि अकेले अजय को problem है, या there are millions of Ajay who have the same problem, and we can make a business around it. That's super important. We need to, everyone in business is to earn the money. So we need to absolutely make sense that whether it's a business financially viable or not. And the third one is technology. And that's where, again, science comes absolutely critical, that many times we have the problem very clearly. We have the business case, but we don't know the technology. Not that we don't know what it is, but we don't know how to scale it up, that how we can make it at scale. We don't have the machines. We don't have the people trained on it. We don't have availability of material. We don't have the supply chain. And that all drives like the cost, the efficiency, and that makes it a little bit difficult. So that's where my provocation is, that there is a unique opportunity here to put a hat of a commercial product development into all the research topics which we are doing today. I think we can help industry big time, being a research community. I believe there are so many topics which are already researched in depth. We need to bring them out and think how we can build product out of them. So there are millions of opportunities, but we need to make sense of that. So if I simplify in a very simple statement, that what's the problem? Consumers don't feel comfortable going out because of the fear of infection and safe future. So I'm trying to give it a more meaning. Who are the consumer? All. As I said, whether they are young, whether they are old, there is a problem, but we need to address their problem in a separate way. Comfortable, they are not confident. Not that they don't know how to go to the market. That's not the case. They didn't forget about that, right? They have everything what they were doing, but they are not confident. कि भाई बीमार हो जाओगे, बाहर मत जाएं, आप घर पे रहें, ठीक रहेगा आपके लिए, सबके लिए, माँ बाप सब. That's the advice you get. Youngsters, they absolutely get hammered, even if they make 10 minutes for their friends. I get hammered by my wife. No way you can go out. So I feel for everybody. Out, like where? Preferred venue. Someone wants to go to a bar, someone wants to go to a restaurant, someone wants cinema, someone wants sports, you name it, but they cannot go. Infection, that's ultimately it's a sickness. You can get sick. And future, I just define it in one word, that's finances. कि पता नहीं job रहेगी या नहीं रहेगी, how business will go, how it will look like. So with that, I give a sum of provocation that where we can go and how we can connect science with industry. So some of my questions remains here are that how about addressing these consumers' confidence and sickness and finances and everything, that how about all the touch points, surfaces become self-sanitizing surfaces? I'm almost sure that material science department in your own university or anywhere else, we have amazing materials which are already developed in sense of a coating, in sense of a spray, in sense of material modification itself during molding and compounding, etc., etc. And perhaps we have more opportunity to bring those active ingredients and make surfaces active. The next speaker who will be coming from Wipro perhaps can add some more context to it and do something about it. The knowledge exists, the research exists. Why we are not doing it? Perhaps it's going on, but I don't see that happening. For instance, imagine if that happens. We as a company, we make probably 500 million hectoliter of beer. 500 million hectoliter. And now you translate that 500 million hectoliter into bottles and cans. That will be in billions and billions. So imagine if something, and those billions of billions product, that goes into hands of consumer. And those surfaces are touched by consumer, and if those surfaces are safe and consumers feel confident, what is the level of value that will add to our industry? I'm just giving an exaggerated example, but this is valid for everything. How about making these touch points interact, like self-monitoring? We have composites which are self-healing. We can make these. In past, I used to have a research topic where we made a very active and communicating fabric by making active coatings for textile material, which can sense your heartbeat based on the body temperature and blah, 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 blah. So all those kind of things. So why we cannot make these surfaces super active and they can communicate with sensors and there's a constant monitoring. So there is a control. We can create nice surfaces, but how are we going to control it? That's super important for sustainability and viability. How about circular food packaging? I know this topic is exhausted, like recyclable polymers and plastics and this and that, but we are nowhere. That's the reality. We are nowhere. It's a nice corporate slogan of using recyclable material, but we are not doing even 10% of what we use. And now when home deliveries are increasing, it will be explosion of plastic again. And there will be a much bigger demand of packaging material which can enhance freshness of your product. You are not going to order every meal every day. You're going to order your products or a food for a week or for 2 weeks. How are you going to store it? So those are the things which we need to connect dots with science. How about making this research available to industry? There are so many research available in science. We as a, luckily I had a context of having like scientific publications and or patents or anything. So where is that framework where that this can be educated to industry that all these things exist? Why we cannot do this? No one stops us. Then another is local versus global. To pump the local economy with employment and boost, why we are not doing anything, making a small scale machinery for everything in efficient way. हमारे पास सिर्फ और सिर्फ बड़ी इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, बड़ी मेगा लाइंस हैं जो एफिशिएंसी है. स्मॉल लाइंस क्यों नहीं है हमारे पास? Who stops us from doing that? And another one challenge is which I'm throwing on the table of Dr. Shruti and Aggarwal is that why we are not promoting our PhD students or even research group leaders like Dr. Gulshan to pitch product development rather than just research. Why we are not giving them that leadership and funding and provoke them instead of just having just research publications. Sorry, I'm not minimizing it. I'm just trying to make my point here. So these are some of my provocation in this direction, and that's, I believe, how science can help industry. So I think I'm way over time, and I'm going to finish my presentation here. So anything you want to discuss, I encourage everybody, students especially, if they feel to get industrial context, feel free to contact me. That's my WhatsApp. And my summary is very simple, that we have a lot of ideas and insights. We connect some dots, that becomes innovation. But I think we need to connect everything, like supply chain, cost, desirability, consumer. That's how finally the commercial product comes out. So with that, I say big thanks to everybody. Thanks, Gulshan, for contacting me and giving me this opportunity to interact with everyone. I leave the floor to you guys. If there are questions, happy to answer. But I think I'm over time, so I can answer later. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Godara. A very nice talk indeed. Thank you for accepting our invitation and giving us this wonderful talk. We understand that you joined at a very early hour of the day, and we also understand that it's a working day for you and you must leave for work. So thank you once again, Dr. Godara.
Thank you.
Our
Appreciate.
Our next speaker for today is Dr. Gopala Krishna Behara. Dr. Gopala Krishna Behara is a distinguished member and lead enterprise architect in Wipro Technologies with 23 plus years of extensive experience in the ITC industry. He is a certified in Open Group TOGAF, AWS Solutions Architect Associate, IBM Cloud Solutions, and UNPAN. He serves as an advisory architect mentor on enterprise architecture, application portfolio, rationalization, and architecture and assurance initiatives, and continues to work as a subject matter expert and author. He has worked on multiple architecture transformation engagements in USA, UK, Europe, Asia Pacific, and Middle Eastern regions that presented a phased roadmap to the transformation that maximized the business value while minimizing costs and risks. Dr. Behara has published around 60 research publications in international journals in SOA, BPM, next generation technology, and e-governance space. He has been a speaker at national and international forums and bodies like the Open Group, etc. He has published book titled Enterprise Architecture Practitioner Handbook, Next Generation Enterprise Reference Architecture for Connected Government, and so on. He has also co-authored many books. He is the recipient of EA Hall of Fame International Award, Individual Leadership in EA Practice, Promotion and Professionalization Award, 13th Annual Enterprise Architecture Conference, Washington, D.C. The title of Dr. Behara's talk is Science and Technology, Providing Solution to the Current Crisis. Welcome, sir.
So thank you, Dr. Shruti, and also the organizing committee, Dr. Shifra and Dr. Nileshwar and Dr. Gulshan, for giving me the opportunity to speak on the topic, the science and technology, and the solution to the current crisis. So, can switch on my video?
Sir, it's not open from your side only.
Okay, it's not open from my side.
Please switch it.
And I'm not getting the share content enabled.
Gopal, you try to switch on your video.
No, I don't have that. I mean, even my share content is disabled.
Sir, you have to rejoin it because your connection is not so appropriate.
Okay, just give me a second.
Dr. Gopala, sir, you have joined with your mobile device. So the
I joined
video
with mobile device. I am also trying to join through my laptop. Okay, to share the presentation. Just give me a second. Asking me feedback. Okay. Actually, for me, the share content is disabled.
actually, sir, you have joined with your mobile device, so the video option will be not there. I have
What will happen?
You can
audio, I joined through mobile,
And-
and for video, I joined through the system.
I can't see your laptop joining record.
Nilesh, can you project the presentation, please?
Amar,
Yes, sir. I have assigned you as the presenter. Please share the slides of Dr. Gopala sir.
okay, correct. Are you able to see?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm able to see. Okay, so let me start now. Sorry for this hiccup, So you're able to hear me right now? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the topic today is the science and technology and solution to current crisis. The idea of this particular presentation is basically to showcase my industry expertise in these the latest technologies and trends, and and also and in the situation of the COVID-19, and then in the form of getting into a new normal state of life, how are these industries are getting affected, and how are these the next generation technologies are going to help us in handling the business disruptions, and then how to convert this crisis into the opportunities. So having said that, I'm a lead architect, lead enterprise architect in Wipro, and also a distinguished member of technical staff. So moving on to the next slide. So I'm trying to showcase current scenarios. Moving on to the next slide. So if you look at this particular slide, YZ is basically the Chinese term, which you call it as the meaning is crisis. So if you look at from any crisis, will give you the deep and better opportunities. So if you look at the left-hand side of the slide, Y stands for danger, where G stands for an opportunity. Okay, so when there is a danger, so what are the strategies? What are the activities that you need to adopt, being a customer or a service provider company like Wipro? And then see that the business continuity is in place, and there won't be any halts to it. So those things we are calling it as a tactical strategies that we adopt. So what I'm trying to say here is, when there is a danger, you suffer from the short-term setbacks, whatever the setbacks that you foresee, you better suffer from there. and then come out of this by addressing some of the operational disruptions. Okay, for example, today we see that most of our employees are continue to deliver the services to our customers in the form of a run business. So there is no stop of the business, or there is no discontinuity of our business to our customers. So, however, we kind of getting connected from different remote locations, or work from home kind of activities, and then start seeing that the run business is in place. Another thing is, you react to ensure that the business continuity and minimize whatever these negative impacts, like, one of these being, I'm not able to have my video on. So you minimize these kind of the negative impacts and see that the business runs continuity. So this is where, the danger situation is get converted into tactical solutions. Similarly, moving on to the opportunities. So as I said, whenever there is a crisis, there will be a huge opportunities, a large opportunities. So what we are trying to do here is we are rebalancing the resources and also the investments. What do you mean by rebalancing the resources? So the resources are basically people who work on those programs, and the processes which help you to the delivery of your programs to the customer, and the technologies. So whatever the technologies you adopt in delivering or fulfilling the customer needs, you call it as rebalancing the resources. So what we need to do is you need to adjust these people, process, and technologies, and also increase the business resilience and prepare for the future opportunities. So this is about the converting the crisis into an opportunities. So if you see the quote from an Albert Einstein, in the mid of every crisis lies a great opportunity. So the next slide, please. So this particular slide talks about the impact of various industries, showcasing who are all the potential losers and who are all the potential winners. So, for example, the previous company what Dr. Ajay has presented earlier probably may fall into a kind of a losers category. That being a very short term, that is last 1 quarter or last 4 months kind of things. So this is an analysis from the famous consulting company called Decode Economic and Financial Consulting Company. So they kind of listed, if you walk through from left to right, you see the potential losers being tourism, you all know, and then aviation industry, automotive industry, construction and real estate has been hugely impacted. Manufacturing industry has been affected. Financial services, banking and the insurance kind of sectors and securities. Then education is undergoing a vast transformation now, so it is still got impacted. And then agriculture slowly, they falling into the potential winner category. And then e-commerce, there is a huge demand and then huge business growth for last 1 quarter. Almost like last 2 months, whatever the business that has been done through an e-commerce or through a digital transactions, it is almost equivalent to the transaction done for last 2 years. In a normal state. And then the telecommunication industry, which are more of a potential service providers. So you see a huge growth, and they're falling into a category of potential winners. And the healthcare industry in terms of insurance and other things. And food processing and retail, there's a huge demand for online ordering and other things. And also the medical supply and services falling into the potential winners. So this is how the entire industry got impacted. And this is where, as Wipro, as a service providers, our business also falling into in this line of areas, circles. Moving on to the next slide. This particular slide, I kind of picked up from the CIO.com India, where they within India they kind of depicted the impact of the COVID-19 across multiple segments. 0 being the no impact, and 10 being the disasters, high impact. So if you see, 61% of BFSI sector got impacted. 57% of 57% of IT sector, ITES sector got impacted. 55% construction and real estate, and then 47% in consumer and distribution, manufacturing 45%, and others 47%. So this is how the impact of various industries within India because of the COVID-19. So there is a quote from Seema Gaur, who is a IFCO Tokyo General Insurance Company. So she says that while the number of the purchasing the vehicles have come down, the vehicle insurances have come down. However, because of COVID-19, there is a huge purchase of health insurance. So it's a quote from Seema Gaur. Next slide, please. So having said this, having said the context of the life has to move on, we need to go ahead, and then we try to bring back our life and our business to normal state. So what I thought of showcasing here is how this technology has evolved. Just a quick glance, the interest of time. Next slide, please. So this is the slide which actually talks about the technology evolution, right from first computer to the quantum computing. You see the way the technology has evolved. ENIAC, the first computer, IBM mainframe, then 80s Microsoft Office and OS, then 1990 where World Wide Web, Google has come in, 2000 social media, and then touch screens in 2010, and then comes the latest trend being the quantum computing. You people also in your university, Indraprastha University, try to do a lot of research in quantum computing and other areas. So this is how the technology is continuously evolving. Moving on to the next slide. Let us move on. The next slide. So if you look at the application landscape, as I initially mentioned that I come with an industry background, so I try to give you the overview of current technology perspective, the application landscape. So most of these applications. So when I say applications, I'm actually referring to some of them like for any company, payroll processing is one application. For any particular company, HR is a department, and you try to have an HR thing. In a manufacturing company, you will have a supply chain management as one of the core large kind of an application. So what kind of challenges you see? So these applications are highly dependent, rigid, perform use business tasks, no deployable on cloud, homegrown applications. Homegrown is the custom developed, and then they consume high maintenance cost, and they bring the entire system down while patching. So these are all some of the issues what we see. Moving on. So these are all the examples what I quoted earlier, right? The billing system, payroll processing, email marketing, call center, customer support, customer relationship management. These are all the various enterprise applications that come under. So what is the future industry? Having understood the problem space, having understood the current kind of an applications, what is our future industry outlook should be post COVID-19, how it should look like? Yeah. Next. So this is the slide, I thought when I was discussing with Dr. Nilesh, the audience being the BTech students and the MTech and the research scholars, and then few faculty members and also some industry professionals, right? So just to give a background, I did my MSc physics with a specialization in electronics, and then did my PhD in superconductivity from Osmania University along with Dr. Nilesh. In fact, Dr. Nilesh being one of my junior colleague there. Then I have an experience of how the earlier days the physics has been viewed, or how the mathematics has been utilized during my research days, and how best we kind of leverage the computer science. So there is no linkage between these areas. Whatever the data we try to capture, we used to go to a PC, a simple PC, and then do a kind of data analysis, sometimes manual analysis, sometimes data analysis. There is no linkage between physics, maths, and the computer science. Now you see the computer science is the part and parcel of the every branch of science, whether it is physics or mathematics or the computer science. So whenever I try to introduce myself to my any of these any of these meetings or other things, I used to say that I am a computational physicist. Okay, so if you look at this, the computational physics helps you in enhancing or picking up an application, experimental application from the physics, and then apply some mathematical techniques, algorithms, and then deploy those algorithms onto your hardware, or help your software to do the processing, which is the branch of computer science. And all three are intersection or overlapping on computational physics. So the linkage to physics, maths, and computer science is the computational physics, is what I say. And this is where your research scholars, being a research scholars, and your students aspiring for your future, you need to have knowledge of these aspects, which is very, very important. Moving on to the next slide. What I did was I tried to compare the experimental research that is happening in a traditional way earlier days, and the innovative way what is happening today. Okay, so being an industry for last 25 years, and also earlier as a research scholar into the area of physics. So I know I could see both the areas, as a traditional researcher, what I used to do, and as an innovator within an organization, I still continue to do my research. Only thing is, now I am doing it not on a fundamental physics or the basic research, but more of an applied research, which I am calling it as an innovative kind of work. So earlier it was like a manual data capturing. You are writing your own algorithms to do a curve fitting, whatever the experimental data you captured, and to capture to measure the temperatures, or to measure the pressure and other physical quantities. We used to use thermocouples, which is based on the principle of Seebeck effect. I vaguely remember that. And then we used to have analog and digital emitters for data capturing, and then we used to leverage the PC for data storage, and and also for the processing, and we used to have a very crude experimental setup. Now coming to an innovative kind of the research, whether it is the industry research or an academic research, wherever you are doing it, definitely I see that you kind of leveraging automated data capture, you are leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms, and you are using IoT as a sensors. There is no IoT without physics. Okay, that is what I feel so. So IoT is everywhere actually. IoT stands for Internet of Things. So we are using IoT as a sensors, and then cloud computing for data storage, such that there is huge storage capacity. I mean, in fact, people are talking about quantum cloud computing to store the data and also do a processing. Then you kind of leverage data analytics to do data processing in terms of predictive analytics and or the intelligent analytics kind of things. And then quantum computing for high performance applications. So you kind of leveraging the supercomputers, which we are calling it as a quantum computers. I'm going to talk about it for high performance applications and sophisticated experimental setups. I'm sure being a research scholar and MTech students, you will be definitely directly or indirectly leveraging all these technologies. Moving on to the next slide. So as I mentioned earlier, right, for every crisis, there is an opportunity. So we need to respond to the disruptions. So earlier, Brexit to COVID-19, and then what next? We don't know. But we have to live with it. So there is no other go. So if you look at the situation, science and technology is scrambling to understand the impact on R&D, market, finance, and workforce. So how do you come out of this? You do focus on innovation. That's an out-of-box thinking. Identify disruptive areas and the new business models. So this particular slide, since most of you are coming with an academic background, I try to give the future technology themes which will actually fit into your research activities. For example, to run high energy physics experiments and then store huge experimental results, you leverage cloud computing. Similarly, as I mentioned earlier, right, IoT being a home automation, or measure the ultraviolet radiation or radioactivity, or use them for smoke sensors, alarms. So everywhere you see IoT playing a major role. I can give you enough plenty of examples for an IoT, but in interest of time, let us not go deep about it. So in simple, I say no IoT without physics, and simple pendulum to cosmic rays. Everywhere you see the role of an IoT. And coming to the machine learning tools for reconstructing, monitoring, and analyzing your experimental particle physics, and the data content management systems and other things, you leverage AI ML. I mean, the face recognition, or reconstructing the images and other things, image processing. What else? What not? Everywhere you see the role of an AI ML is coming into the picture. Then you leveraging analytics for searching particles in experimental data, converting data into an information, the role of analytics, and quantum computing for future information processing, compute binding energy of the neutron is the quantum computing is coming into the picture, and then store data in blocks, collecting intelligence, collaborative research. Having multiple researchers working from different locations, remote locations, and then consolidating the data, and then trying to implement the security aspects of it on those data elements. You leverage blockchain technology. So these are all the areas future technology themes which are helping for academicians or the research scholars who are working in various universities and the various prestige laboratories. The technology has to be used, cloud, IoT, ML, analytics, QC, and blockchain. Moving on to the industry perspective, let us move on. So this coming back to the situation, this COVID-19, we need and we need to come out of those disruptions that are happening. You need to come back from normal to a kind of new normal has to be established. Okay, so what is a new normal? So according to the Prime Minister of India, you need to have the capabilities like AEIOU. AEIO stands for adaptability. So adapt to your digital technologies, efficiency, So it's not that, how long you spend your time in your laboratory or how long you spent your time in office sitting the 8 hours or 9 hours and then not coming out any output. So have more goal-oriented kind of work, and then have an output which is more efficient, and bringing the inclusivity is, have all the people together, making to achieve a certain goal, bringing all the different stakeholders and then make them the part of, that particular solution is inclusivity. And then opportunity. So as I mentioned, every crisis there is an opportunity. Look for new opportunities such that, the business will continue, kind of. And finally, the universalism is actually talking about bringing out, or, eliminating the boundaries, or, caste, religion, or, state borders, or, country borders and all those things. And then work like a single entity is what the universalism is. Such a beautiful words by, the Prime Minister of India, which, kind of helping us to establish the new normal, and that is where, we need to focus on. And there are also some of the quotes from various CXOs. You see a CEO, Honeywell, talking about, not from, no more globalization. It should be more of a local for local. Work from home has been the part and parcel of our life. And then I see personally as a leader in Wipro, there is a huge productivity gain happened when the engineers started working from home, actually. So the perception of, the employer, perception of the industry, perception of the service providers and other things are going to change now, and working from home will become the part and parcel of our life. If you look at the Microsoft CEO, Satya Nadella, so he was actually talking about, the digital transformation in 2 months, last 2 months, whatever the digital transformation that has happened, it is equivalent to a worth of 2 years, that 2 years of transformation where the world has undergone, which would have undergone without without this crisis. Similarly, the CFO of Universal Parcel Services, a large parcel service based out of US and I think across the globe. So he is talking about the more automation, more network flexibility, and new technology-enabled solutions will help the future. There has been a big push to get online and to do more selling by CEO of Facebook. So bottom line, what I'm trying to say here is we are now moving from normal to the crisis. We have to live with it, and we have to coming out with or moving towards a new normal kind of a society. Next slide, please. So how do you prepare for the process? The interest of time, and I'll just walk through fast. You need to shift towards localization. We discussed about it. Become a digital. We discussed about it. And then you conserve the cash. So not spending too much too much money on dead investments or future planning kind of businesses. Whether it's going to work or not. Or legacy kind of businesses which you try to continue. So cut short of all those things, and then you try to conserve the cash, and then arrive at variable cost models. That is, from fixed cost model to a kind of various cost model, variable cost models is what you need to adopt. And as I told you earlier, sell off all the inventory which is of no use, and change the policies. Make the policies as agile. You should be able to change the policies of an organization or a government. So that is where I'm calling it as agile policies. So this is where you kind of follow the steps to become or prepare for the new normal. Moving on to the next slide, please. So this slide talks about the various technology lines, the technology areas that will enable the domain areas, banking and finance, energy and natural resources, healthcare and life sciences, manufacturing and consumer industries. So these are all the various various domain areas, and the technology lines being being a digital always, having a better customer experience, then adapting to cloud computing, and then analytics, cyber security, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain technology, and quantum computing. So these are all the future technology areas which are helping us to build our future and bring the new normal into our part and parcel of our life. Next slide, please. So what I thought is, going forward, I quickly kind of each technology, what it is, just thought of sharing with you. So the cloud computing, I think we discussed about it. So it's a kind of an application and infrastructure delivery over the internet. What are the features it will have? It's a fast, scalable, ubiquitous, better security. So you will pay as per your usage, elasticity and resource pooling. Then various kind of cloud computing models that are available. So you have software as a service, you have a platform as a service, you have an infrastructure as a service. And the leading service providers in the market are Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and then IBM, Google, Salesforce. So these are all the various cloud service providers. And then effectively, this has become the part and parcel of our life. Anything to everything. In fact, anyone uses Outlook, or anyone leverages Google. You might have heard about iCloud. You might have heard about the Google Cloud and other things, which is available for your storage and processing and other aspects of it. Moving on to, so these are some of the examples industry-wide. I'm not going to go deep into it. The communication, healthcare, utilities, government, and oil and gas. These are an indicative cloud adoption trends industry-wise. In fact, all the industry, all the industries are actually adapting to the cloud technology. Next slide is data analytics. So which I'm calling it as big data analytics. So exploration of data from internet, cloud data, mobile, Internet of Things, sensors, processes, and the processes use data sets using unstructured database. When I was doing my the initial software development work, 2000 around 2000 or so, it is more of a structured data. Today, whatever the session that is happening, the organizing committee is actually streaming the data, and then whatever the chat we do using a WhatsApp or Facebook, likes, and then Twitter and all those things, they are all just going back. Unstructured data, just go back. Unstructured data. So this unstructured data has to be converted into a meaningful information. That is where the big data comes into the picture. So it's very, very important to explore and then understand and then build your big data skills to doing the current processing of the current state of the situation, and then do a predictive analytics and other things. The characteristics being the volume, velocity, variety, domains. It is used across all the domains, and that various tools are Hadoop, HBase, Cassandra, Spark, Cloudera, and other things. Next slide. This particular slide is a simple example of how best a connected car and help you in establishing the Auto Insight platform. So you have a car, and then you have the device or a SIM fitted into a dealership, and then you build your Auto Insight analytics, which are again hosted onto the cloud. So, and then you establish a connected car, which will help you in finding out loss prevention, and it also help you in safety and well-beings, any distress or risk alerts, teenage monitoring, and then also try to know wear and tear trends and usage metrics and new revenue channels. So this is the kind of the overview of a connected car as one of the example. What I thought I'll share it with you, and which actually gives you the overview of the power of big data analytics. Next slide, please. Then comes the artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, I think I'm sure most of you are definitely using it in your research activities, or your dissertation as a part of your MTech program. So it is ability to learn, understand, and think intelligent way, and then make the computer to perform the functions as if the present human beings are it good. It's almost equal to the way you think is what your artificial intelligence. So some of the capabilities being voice and speech recognition, face recognition, object detection, intuition, inferencing, and decision making. Types of AI being machine learning and deep learning. Thought leaders being Microsoft, Facebook, Google, Amazon, IBM, and other things. So let us move on. These are some of the AI across the business: healthcare, manufacturing, aviation, automobile, banking, retail, academia. So these are all various areas where the AI is deeply into helping us to promote the business, or the part and parcel of the business by various organizations. So how much time I have?
With 5 minutes.
You said 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, so let us move on. IoT, I think I spoke about it. IoT, so the features being anytime, any place, and anything. Anything is actually mission to mission, human to human, human to thing, and things to things. I'm sure most of you are definitely leveraging IoT into your research laboratories. And then it also has various usages across the businesses. This slide actually depicts that. Moving on to the next slide. This is one collaborative care for a patient, end-to-end. Patient acquisition, patient referred to hospital, meets the doctor, nurse, and other caregivers, and then also care from home. The end-to-end view, a contextual view of collaborative care of a patient. Next. So finally comes the quantum computing. I mean, Dr. Nilesh actually mentioned that you people, some of you are actually working on quantum computing for your research activities. So it's basically based on the principles of quantum mechanics tools, and basically two principles like superposition and entanglement. The various features of quantum computing being the use to solve a large computational problems. For example, the integer factorization of, for example, you want to do a factoring of 5,000 digits. It takes 5 trillion years by a normal computer, whereas a quantum computer, it will do it in 2 minutes. Similarly, you want to perform a database search, quantum database search, which is supposed to happen in 100 years, it does in half a second time. And crypto analysis, cracking extremely complicated code within a few seconds of time. So quantum computing has the 3 features, which I'm calling it as quantum computing, quantum communication, and quantum sensors. So these are being used across the various industries, and this is a highly evolving field, and very soon this is going to be the reality. As of now, it is more of an R&D kind of work that is happening. And in Wipro, we are also have a quantum computing group where I'm one of the core contributor to it. Next, moving on to the next slide. These are the various types of quantum computers. I'm sure you might have heard about it. Superconducting based, squid based, ion trap, then solid state NMR, nuclear based quantum computing, quantum dots, and molecular magnetic based quantum computing. Yeah, so this is the example of quantum computer, how it look like. QPU stands for quantum processing unit. Next. So these are the various industry leading quantum computer providers, IBM being in the race. Then we have Microsoft and Google, then Exando, Rigetti, D-Wave. So these are all, they provided the quantum programming languages based on open source technologies. So we can actually connect to these quantum computers remotely and start, running your algorithms, building your own algorithms, and see that how those algorithms can be solved, how that the problems can be resolved. We in fact connected. Have a partnership with IBM and Google and Microsoft, and then we do perform some processing using quantum computers. So it's a great learning for us. I request all the research scholars to get connected to this register and then get connected and perform your some of your research activities onto this. Yeah. These are some of the applications. Nilesh, shall we continue? Yeah, next slide.
Yeah.
So let us not worry about blockchain. So this is how blockchain look like, and move on.
Yes.
Next slide, please. These are cybersecurity and then digital. Next slide, please.
You can
Next slide.
join as you can join as attendee. I can take you to the panel.
Can others go on mute, please? Next slide.
So it's tinyurl.com/USBS web 4. Okay, sir. So it can comment this problem.
Yeah.
Next slide.
Yeah. Can you wind up as quick as possible?
Yeah, this is the last slide. So what I'm trying to say in this particular slide is, you need to change our learning. The context of learning has to be changed. So under the new normal conditions, some of the characteristics which are fueled by social changes are, the communication is something we need to establish, creativity, design thinking, collaboration, critical thinking, core diverse, continuity, and entrepreneurship. Next slide, please. I think education anywhere, anytime, any place will be the future now. Use digital technology, audio, video collaboration, diverse learning content, reorganization of your universities, schools, colleges, empathy and positivity, and better connectivity. That's it. So last slide. Next slide. So some of the areas, I kind of the skills that are required by the students. So commodity skills being Java and C. Let us not worry too much about marketing skills. The niche skills which we need to have, which are all the differentiators, are machine learning, open source technology, data analytics, embedded platforms, and the quantum computing and AML. So this is what I just wanted to convey. So the answer is bots is the way to go, COVID 2.0, and you have to live with it. The future belongs to the curious learners. That's it from my side. Hope this is helpful.
A great talk indeed, Dr. Behara. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I now request Dr. Nileshwar, co-faculty coordinator of this webinar, to please thank the speakers.
Good afternoon, all. On behalf of University School of Basic and Applied Science, Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, I am delighted to convey my sincere thanks to all the eminent speakers present on the occasion of role of science and technology innovation in the current scenario. Today's theme of Indraprastha webinar, Science, Technology, Innovation, and Industrial Prospect. First, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Ajay Godara, 1.5 meter economy. Sir, you made how the economy impacted due to the COVID, how to align ourselves and relive the challenges in different ways, face the current crisis, how to resolve the problem and reboosting the economy by redesigning the model to attract the people. And also you focus some of the issues, how the health challenges will come, how to boost it. And you give the very clear view to the young community, especially different challenges ahead. And thank you very much, Dr. Ajay Godara. Finally, I would like to thank you, Dr. Gopala Krishna Behara, Distinguished Technical Fellow of Wipro, for giving the inspirational, innovative, and motivational talk on science and technology, solution to current, especially and focus to future technology. Sir, you made a very crystal view how the student research faculty can collaborate with the digital industry, how the young minds can plan their career in the future technology also. And you made very crystal clear classification of the future technologies such as cloud, IoT, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, and quantum computing, blockchain. And also you give the differentiate, giving the new normal, and as the Prime Minister says, the AEIOU, other things also. Sir, you are able to give very glimpse of industrial needs, how the students to take up the challenges, especially in the future technology area. Thank you very much, sir. And I thank to all of you. Thank you once again. Jai Hind.
Shipra.
So we are ready to start our valedictory session. Shipra ma'am, over to you.
We are ready with the valedictory session. Let us start the valedictory session. So, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Guru Jambeshwar University of Science and Technology, Hisar. Professor Gagandeep Kang, Executive Director, Translational Health Science Technology Institute. Our Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Dr. Mahesh Verma, Deans, Directors, my esteemed colleagues, students, and all other participants. We have come to the end of our 4-day webinar series on the topic Role of Science, Technology, and Innovation in the Current Scenario. The journey has been very educational, informative, and very exciting. The constant positive feedback and reviews from our participants have made us believe in the success of these sessions. I'm happy we could synergize our school to have this webinar. I'm sure it will generate critical thinking and meaningful future activities. We had a dynamic variety of speakers coming from the webinar series from different fields, equipped with so much knowledge and ready to encourage. It left many attendees in the amazement. As they say, there is strength in numbers. We learn more efficiently, faster together. In each session, we had more than 300 participants attending the series and getting benefited by the experienced speakers and the ideas they had to share. We had an excellent inauguration with 3 distinguished academicians, Professor V. Ramagopal Rao, Director IIT Delhi, Chief Guest Dr. D.K. Aswal, Director CSIR NPL, and our own Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Dr. Mahesh Verma. Dr. Aswal presented the problem of standardization of measurement in India. It is undoubtedly a big problem, and he told us how to handle that in India. We need to take cognizance of this problem. Otherwise, all our efforts will fail. Professor Rao described how IITD is contributing to the fight against corona through developments and incubation. We have many things to learn from them. Our Vice Chancellor, Professor Verma, emphasized how the world needs to expand its scientific boundaries by adapting a new way of life based scientific principles. The second day was graced by Professor D.D. Sharma, IIC Bangalore, Dr. Praveen Kumar, DST, and Dr. Raj Das from Australia. And they all enlightened us on the theme of the day, which was International Scientific Cooperation. Professor Sharma talked about synchrotron and their usage, various international and Indian facilities, and how we can participate in them with exciting proposals. Dr. Praveen Kumar in his talk opened up the DST funded efforts with 4 different levels of activities. Dr. Raj Das presented the Australian scenario and possibility of collaborations. The third day started with the theme of science and technology in the current scenario. The speakers were Professor Vandana Nanal from TFR, our own Professor Avinash Sharma, and Professor Taqir Ahmed from Jamia Millia Islamia. All of them gave very informative and beneficial talks. Vandana took us through the world of nuclear physics. She gave us various ideas such as PET, accelerator physics, application of gamma ray in COVID-19. Professor Avinash Sharma gave us the current scenario of education under COVID-19 threat, role of internet, role of artificial intelligence, problems and their possible solutions. Professor Taqi told us about various techniques of creating nanomaterials, their polymer composites and possible applications to PPE. In the last session on the theme, Science, Technology and Innovation and Industrial Perspective, we had 2 extremely successful industry persons, Dr. Gopala Krishna Behara of Wipro Digital and Dr. Ajay Godara from Belgium. And Dr. Nileshwar has already explained what they all covered today. So I must say that we are delighted with the grand success of this webinar organized by University School of Basic and Applied Sciences. Before moving on to the talks, I had some thoughts which I would like to share with everyone present here. The suddenness of COVID-19 and the frequency with which everything closed down hit all of us extremely hard. However, we recognized ourselves, trained each other in new tools, kept our academic activities on, and even reached a situation where we participated in the knowledge exchange in a webinar with luminaries. The strength of the webinar has been witnessed every platform. These are the places where diffusion of knowledge is done quickly at all levels, hugely benefiting all parties involved. Mainly with the new normal physical distance, this may be the platform of choice. Question is, does it serve the same purpose of a physical seminar where everybody is present and can have much better interaction? Professor Ramagopal Rao was telling that COVID-19 created a situation where at IIT Delhi, almost 300 classes are archived. The students do not need to come to classes. However, they can come for doubt clearing. I was wondering whether a similar thing can be applied to webinars as well. Everything will be archived by Science and Technology Watch Group, and people will meet only to clear doubts or listen to something absolutely new. Only time can say what will happen. If it is safe to say something will happen, but it is safe to say that something will happen. All of us will adapt and overcome these hurdles, working together and empowering each other to make humanity stronger. If this webinar generates some critical thinking and meaningful future activities, then the primary goal of organizing this session by USBAS would be achieved. It will be good if there are some new proposals for science and technology, such as something related to synchrotron or international projects, solution for COVID-19 situation, incubation activity, etc. The ground we covered was vast, including but not limiting to physics, chemistry, material science, and more. I was thinking about the non-conventional energy efficient system for the aviation industry related to challenge while listening to Dr. Das. I hope all of these questions provide the attendees with some food for thought and inspire them to work together for the betterment of science. We have already made a beginning. Let us continue our effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Louis Pasteur, the famous French scientist and biologist, said, "Science knows country because knowledge belongs to humanity, and it is the torch which illuminates the world. Science is the highest personification of the nation because that nation will remain the first which carries furthest the works and thoughts and intelligence." With this, I would like to introduce the first speaker for the day. We have with us energetic administrator, eminent academician, distinguished researcher, and renowned dental surgeon, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Padam Shri Professor Dr. Mahesh Verma. As Vice Chancellor of our university, Sir is committed to infrastructure development, multidisciplinary research, welfare of staff and students. We look forward to a great future with his optimistic and progressive approach. Sir is also serving as the director of Maulana Azad Medical Institute of Dental Sciences. Sir has a very long biodata. He has won so many numerous awards. And in the positive time, I would just say that two of his major awards are the prestigious B.C. Roy National Award in 2007 and Padam Shri in 2014. Sir, thank you very much for gracing this occasion and sparing us your time in spite of your busy schedule. You try to attend all the events of the university and motivate and organizing the team and participants. You are truly an inspiration for us. Sir, I would like to invite you to please give your address to us.
Thank you, Shipra. At the outset, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, Vice Chancellor of GJ University of Science and Technology, Hisar, the chief guest for today's valedictory function, and Professor Gagandeep Kang, Executive Director, Translation, Health Sciences Technology Institute, Faridabad. I am a big fan of her. In fact, I've been always asking Shruti that we could, invite her, Madam Kang. She's very accomplished to our university. And last time I met her when I was getting the Science and Technology National Award in Vigyan Bhavan, and she was giving the keynote address there. It's such a pleasure, ma'am, to have you amongst us this afternoon. Professor Shruti Aggarwal, Dean of University School of Basic and Applied Sciences of our university, various deans, directors, faculty, staff, and students. It really makes me immensely happy to see this webinar series reaching its successful culmination. In fact, as Shipra just mentioned, that in the last 2.5 months, our 12 schools of the university, I think, they conducted numerous webinars, and as a head of the organization, it was my sole responsibility that I show up, I motivate them, I appreciate them. So it's such a wonderful feeling that another series of webinar is coming to an end. And it is said that information is the most empowering of all the tools, and that is what we are doing. Although some are criticizing that there are too many webinars left, right, and center, but nevertheless, I think it still is bringing a lot of information to each one of us, all the stakeholders. And as you, Shipra, as the Shruti just mentioned, that a lot of institutions are archiving it so that we can access and for the benefit of all the students and other stakeholders. So not only the information, it is empowering, but it also fosters independence, confidence, and leadership, and the capability to transform age-old system for a better tomorrow. We have come this far. How we have done? We have come through science and technology. Though these series of webinars, I hope you have acquired a new information, new knowledge, and I think the most important, a new perspective, a different perspective. And somewhere I've seen in all these webinars, we have, we have talked of COVID time, the present time, how it is hitting us in all spheres, including economy. And when we talk of science and technology or innovation, I think it is very important to realize that every humans do start with an idea. Everything starts with an idea. An idea is like a seed that contains the blueprint of an entire tree. And if it is a viable idea, or if it is a viable seed, it contains a future forest within itself. But ideas mean nothing without execution. If you are not putting an effort to it, I think it is a futile idea. And along with a valid idea, I think what you need is also a little bit of creativity, a little bit of innovation. And creativity is thinking up of a new things, but innovation is doing new things. So creativity comes from within, innovation comes in your actions. Innovation is a quality that is natural to man. We have been innovating all along. It is a quality that made man invent the wheel. It's innovation. And, that was probably, the biggest invention. And, what we must remember is that ideal wheel was not invented in a day. It didn't happen overnight. There is no innovation and creativity without a failure. I'm sure there must have been a lot of failures in this endeavor. We have seen many failures in the past few months. And when you feel down, out, just try to smile through the hard time. As the keynote speaker today, Madam Kang, would be talking about vaccine development. I'm sure there's a lot of hiccups, a lot of limitations, a lot of failures, a lot of unsuccessful attempts. So it's part of our life, and it is not easy, but it is the most dignified thing to do, that we still smile through it. कहते हैं ना कि अगर किसी परिस्थिति में के लिए आपके पास शब्द नहीं है, तो भी मुस्कुराते रहिए. परिस्थितियां उलझा सकती हैं, लेकिन एक दिली मुस्कुराहट जो अंदर से आती है, वो हमेशा काम करती है और आपको ढाढ़स बंधाती है ताकि आप आगे चल सकें. Everybody is talking about COVID time, and they say that when everything is uncertain, everything is possible. We are still groping in dark. We're still looking for how to manage it. So there is uncertainty, but there is possibility even in uncertainty. To find a cure for COVID-19, we may innovate on an existing flu, or we invent a new vaccine altogether. That's what we are doing. Yesterday, our chief scientific advisor, he in a press conference, he gave us all the different organizations were trying it, the different kind of method, different modes of vaccine preparation. So all that is being done via different routes. We have Professor Gagandeep Kang speaking to us on this very interesting topic, bringing hope and cure in anticipated COVID vaccine and cure. And we, as I just mentioned, that we have a lot of groups working on it, and we only hope that the results will be promising. But as I said, that everybody is not finding success, and the accidents are part of the process. Failure is a part of the process. In fact, failure is part of learning. So you see, failure is the way to having realization. In science, there is nothing which is called a failed experiment. It is only an experiment with an unexpected outcome. You did not get any positive outcome, so you can't truly call it a failed experiment. Failure is our teacher, not our undertaker. Failure is delay, not defeat. Most importantly, failure is temporary detour, not a fatal dead end. We failed, and every time it will give this example to students that see Thomas Edison. He failed 1,000 times, and after that only he was able to invent the bulb. So it's a part of science and technology, and that's how we move forward. And reminding yourself of the concept of ahem brahmasmi, which means that in reality, Brahman is the essence of life. Life emerges when the material conditions are available which permit life to organize itself in matter. So when the conditions are favorable again, life will definitely resume. So life is also looking for things which is favorable. I cannot emphasize enough on the importance of collaboration. Miracles can happen at the intersection of science, technology, innovation. And मानव के दिमाग को आश्चर्य में खुशी मिलती है, इसलिए वो विज्ञान से प्रेम करता है. Because विज्ञान is very exciting. Because when you come out with something new, it gives you a kick, internal happiness, and that's how, you see, sometimes we find all these scientists in the lab, they're working for day, night, and night, and never go out. Because, when they find something new, it gives them so much of pleasure, happiness, and a kick. So technology can help change the human condition and improve lives, be it in a combating epidemic disease, curing cancer, reducing oil dependence, mitigating climate change, or improving nuclear reactor safety. We have to have humanitarian approach to technology and innovation. हर विज्ञान दर्शन के रूप में शुरू होता है और कला के रूप में समाप्त होता है. Only a humanitarian approach can transform run-of-the-mill science to a flourishing creativity, और इसी transformation में मानवता का विकास होता है. The novel coronavirus is a bug that infects to our bodies as well as our mind. So it's not just body; it is not a physical infestation. In fact, I think more than physical, it's a mental infestation. It's a virus that damages our hardware and the software. But I think we have to have faith in the human spirit. Humanity has survived through difficult times we have had in the past. Every generation had some difficult times, its share of suffering. But humans have always kept adapting and have always kept on moving ahead. And that is the spirit we all need to have. कहते हैं ना कि इस विश्व प्रहार में, इस बड़े वर्ल्ड में किसको नहीं बहना पड़ा, सुख दुख हमारी ही तरह किसको नहीं सहना पड़ा, फिर व्यर्थ क्यों कहता फिरूं, मुझ पर विधाता वाम है, चलना हमारा काम है. और तो इसी सोच के साथ हम बढ़ते रहे, नए मंजिले, नए आयाम और नई जो है उपलब्धियां हम हासिल करते रहे. एंड ऑलवेज रिमेंबर, कोरोना may be a contagious, but I think hope is more contagious, courage is more contagious, strength is more contagious. The path to success is always riddled with difficulty. Yes, but victory comes to only those who are willing to take risk. फाइनेंस में भी कहते हैं ना कि अगर आप रिस्क नहीं लोगे और थोड़ा बहुत रिस्क, तो without that you cannot get gains. And hopefully we can harness science and technology and innovation to find answer to this malady for which entire world is awaiting some positive result. My congratulations to Dean Shruti Aggarwal, her colleagues. Some of them are here present today from University School of Basic and Applied Sciences on organizing this enlightening webinar series. And our university has adapted very well to the online mode of communication, and I'm very proud of our university's grit and determination, because when we started, we were just groping in dark, we were just looking here and there, and suddenly there has been a bounty of webinars. And other day I was talking to somebody and they said, there has been a lot of webinars which is not, actually not giving much of information. But we always think positive, and I feel that whatever webinars our university has arranged has been very fruitful, and it has covered diverse topics, diverse fields, diverse teams, and benefiting all the students, faculty, staff, and also we teachers. When we listen to each other, isn't it? It arouses. It gives you many research questions. Gives you altogether different perspective. So I'm very happy that all these endeavors, all these activities will take us a long way. I especially like to appreciate the presence of Vice Chancellor Sir, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, from Hisar. I have met him before, and and really accomplished Abuli and Professor Kang for sharing her thoughts with us this afternoon. And with this, thank you, Shruti, for inviting me for this valedictory function. Thank you, everybody. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful words. Sir, you are and will always continue to be our guiding light, creating conditions conducive to the overall development and progress of this university. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Our special guest of honor for the day needs no introduction. She is the first lady from India to be elected a Fellow of the Royal Society. She is also the first Indian woman to be elected to Fellow of the American Academy of Microbiology and the only physician scientist to receive the Infosys Award in Life Sciences. I feel honored to have Professor Gagandeep Kang with us today. Professor Kang is the Executive Director of Translational Health Science Technology Institute and Autonomous Institute of the Department of Biotechnology. Prior to joining DBT, Professor Kang was a professor and head of the Wellcome Trust Research Laboratory and the Division of Gastrointestinal Sciences at the Christian Medical College in Vellore. Professor Kang has built a strong interdisciplinary research program that uses careful and detailed field epidemiology with molecular tools for characterization of infectious agents and host response to infection to understand and change factors that affect transmission, development, and prevention of enteric infection and their sequelae. Observational, interventional, and mechanistic studies on the enteric infection and nutrition have demonstrated the complex relationship between the gut function and physical and cognitive development. Based at first an outstanding medical college and now at THSTI, she has established a strong training program for students and young faculty in clinical translational medicine, aiming to build a cadre of clinical research scientists studying relevant problems in India. She is a member of the WHO's Product Development Vaccine Advisory Committee, Global Advisory Committee, and chairs the Immunization Technical Advisory Group of the WHO's Southeast Asian region. She serves or has served on the Scientific Advisory Committee of several national and international institutes, including Wellcome Trust, UK and DBT, Wellcome Trust India, Alliance, and the International Vaccine Institute and the International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. Professor Kang will today speak on a very relevant topic, vaccines for the 21st century. I invite you, Professor Kang, to enlighten us with your words. Ma'am, please.
Thank you very much for the invitation, for the very kind introduction, and for the incredible enthusiasm and energy that Professor Verma brings to every interaction that he has. So can you just let me know if you can see my slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We can see your slides.
Okay, so let's get started. Over the next half an hour, what I'd like to discuss with you is where we are with vaccines in the world and in India, and just share a little bit at the end with you about the vaccines that are currently in development that people are excited about but unsure of timelines. So if we look at vaccines, we've had them around for a couple of 100 years now, 212 to be exact. And what I'm going to be taking you through is an introduction to vaccines and vaccine development, what the value of vaccines is, what are the new technologies that we've had in the last few years, the formation of a new organization that is driving vaccine development in the world, where we are with vaccines for SARS-CoV-2, and that both in the world and in India. So if we think about a world without vaccines, in the 1700s, we used to lose a large proportion of the world's population to infectious diseases every year. Just one infectious disease, smallpox, was responsible for over 400,000 deaths every year, and that was in Europe alone. Now, smallpox was a very easily recognizable disease. So, we have an excellent history of the burden that smallpox was. And we also have the story of how the first vaccine was developed. In fact, the entire name vaccine comes from vacca or cows because it was a cowpox virus that allowed us to prevent smallpox from occurring in human populations. Everyone is familiar with Edward Jenner's experiment of taking material from a cowpox lesion in a milkmaid, inoculating it in James Phipps, a young boy who was the gardener's son in Jenner's household. He waited then for 2 months, and after the lesion from cowpox had dried up, he inoculated him with smallpox, and James Phipps did not develop smallpox, so we knew that this cowpox was protecting against smallpox. That led to people beginning to use cowpox as a vaccine. This experiment was done in 1796, but by 1800, these vaccines, very crudely derived from cowpox lesions, were being given across Europe and North America. In just 100 years of the use of the vaccine, smallpox had been eliminated from much of the industrialized world. And then it took us another 80 years and some very innovative immunization strategies to get rid of smallpox from the world. And smallpox is so far the only disease of humans that has been eradicated. We also have another viral infection called rinderpest, which affects livestock, and that has also been eradicated through the use of vaccines. Now, vaccines and drugs are very different things, and people recently have had a lot of questions about vaccines. Do I really need to take vaccines? Should I be giving so many vaccines to my young children? Should we be thinking about reducing? This is a foreign antigen that we are introducing into people. Is it really necessary? And that's really because people don't see the diseases that vaccines prevent anymore. With COVID-19, there is an increasing interest in vaccines because this is a new disease that is affecting people around us. So it's important to understand what are the differences between vaccines and drugs and how vaccines are developed. Now, vaccines are usually given to healthy people. So, when you have a drug and you're sick and the drug is going to cure you of that illness, you're willing to put up with a few side effects. For example, if an antibiotic causes diarrhea, but it gets rid of your infection, that's okay. However, in vaccines, we need them to be very safe, we need them to be very efficacious. And vaccines, because they are usually used in vulnerable populations like infants and the elderly or in pregnant women, the safety barrier becomes much, much higher. Also, vaccines are not given as frequently as drugs. They are given once or a few times. And the expectation is that this should be something that everybody can afford. So we have no or very few vaccines that are very expensive. But in the case of drugs, for example, for chemotherapy, drugs can be quite expensive. Now, if you look at vaccine development, it usually starts off in academia with an academic researcher identifying what infection looks like, looking for the mechanism of protection from that infection, finding out which antigens are responsible for generating that protective response, showing in animals that that antigen, which acts as a vaccine, protects from infection, and then finding the best way to present that antigen. It usually then gets transferred to industry. Industry increases yield and purity, shows the safety of the antigen in animals, and then adapts this to good manufacturing practice and starts to produce lots, which can be used for clinical testing. Usually, the preclinical phase is animal safety and sometimes immunogenicity if the animal does make an immune response. And if the safety studies in animals are okay, we can go into studies in humans. And these are phase 1 to 3 studies that are done pre-licensure. Shown in brackets here are the number of people that are recruited into each kind of study. In phase 1, which is safety, you have 10 to 100 people. Phase 2, which decides how many doses you use and measures the immune response, you have 1 log larger. And in phase 3, which is the actual efficacy study to show whether the vaccine prevents the disease that it is targeting, it varies between 1,000 to 10,000 to sometimes even 100,000 people being included. Usually, if a vaccine makes it through all of these phases, it gets licensed at this stage, and then you can have post-licensure studies, which are usually for studying very rare side effects or for measuring effectiveness of the vaccine in a real-world setting. So when you measure whether a vaccine works or not, you look at immunogenicity, efficacy, and effectiveness. Immunogenicity is the induction of an immune response. Efficacy is protection against disease in a clinical trial. And effectiveness is protection against disease when the vaccine is in routine use. We have a number of vaccines that are already available, and I'm showing here bacterial vaccines. And shown in red are the ones that we have in India being used in the national program. Are vaccines that are available in India but are not used in the national program. Pneumococcus is now used in some states, but not across the entire country. Similarly, we have vaccine preventable infections, again in red, the vaccines that we are using, and in green, the vaccines that are available but are not being used across the country. So we have a lot of infectious disease that is being prevented in our country and around the world through the use of vaccines. Now, what can vaccines do to disease? Shown here are 2 examples. Measles is what is known as an endemic disease, something that affects children in all parts of the world if there isn't a vaccine. When you do have a vaccine, what can it do? You can see here that after the vaccine was licensed and started to be used, the disease essentially disappeared. You can also have the vaccine used for new diseases, not just old ones. And shown here is the example of New Zealand, where they had a sudden increase in the number of meningococcal cases. And this was largely in children and in young adults. And when they started to use the vaccine, the disease came down to the levels before the introduction. So what do vaccines do? It's estimated that they prevent 2 to 3 million deaths a year. That's about 5 deaths every minute. And this is just deaths. It's not about the entire burden of disease that is alleviated. So children needing to go to hospital or disease that occurs and can be managed at home, all of these are prevented by vaccination. So looking at the value of vaccines, obviously, as I've been talking, you've seen that vaccines prevent deaths, vaccines prevent sickness. But if you look at it, vaccines prevent a lot of other things as well. What they do is promote health. And when you are healthy, that allows you to be a much better participant in society so that you benefit directly, that society benefits as well. A healthy person is more likely to be better educated and therefore to have a job that has a higher economic value. It's been estimated, in fact, that if you have a 10-year gain in life expectancy of your population, that translates into up to 1 additional percentage point of annual growth of income per capita. So, for a country and for a society, health really matters. This is a hugely complicated slide. I'm not going to walk you through this, but I will take you through one example. Usually, when we think about vaccines, we think about a reduction of morbidity and mortality for the individual. But if you look at it from the point of view of society, you have more children that survive, that leads to smaller families. You have more caregivers that can go to work, that leads to better workforce supply and productivity. You have lower healthcare expenditures, you have a better educated population, you have increased consumption in society, which leads to more tax revenues for the government. So you can see that when you think about vaccines and the prevention of disease, it isn't limited to the individual and the family alone. The benefits accrue to all of society and continue to accrue as long as people remain healthy. Now, if we move to what are the new technologies that are available for making vaccines, from Jenner to Pasteur to Hilleman, who made a lot of vaccines in the 20th century, the approach to making vaccines was very similar. You isolate the organism that causes disease, you inactivate it or you make it weaker in some way, and then you give it back to people so that you induce an immune response but don't cause disease. And up to the 1950s, this is how vaccines were made. After the 1950s, we got a lot of new technologies that were very helpful and allowed us to make new kinds of vaccines. In 1950, we got cell culture that allowed us to make polio, hepatitis A, measles, rubella, rotavirus vaccines. In 1980, we got recombinant DNA, and this allowed us to make the new hepatitis B vaccines, acellular, pertussis, and others. In 1990, we learned how to link together sugar molecules with proteins so that we could make new conjugate vaccines against a range of capsulated bacteria for which vaccines had not worked previously. And in 2010, we learned how to read sequences of infectious agents and identified how to make vaccines from those. Since 2010, we've had many more new technologies. We have structural vaccinology, we have synthetic biology, the ability to make RNA and DNA vaccines. We've developed new adjuvants that can promote the immune response. And we've even learned how to study the human immune response so that we can decide which antigens induce protective immunity. If we look at the new technologies, reverse vaccinology essentially starts with having a target organism, being able to do whole genome sequencing for that organism, deciding which is likely to be an antigen that will induce a protective immune response, making lots of those kinds of antigens, testing them in animal models, and then deciding whether it should go into humans. So this allows you to shorten the time to make a vaccine. And the first vaccine that was made using this approach was the meningococcal B vaccine that was developed by GSK in 2010, licensed in 2012. So we have structural vaccinology that came from our study of HIV viruses, where we were able to figure out not only which is the antigen that is responsible for a protective immune response, but also can we engineer that protein to make it more stable and more immunogenic so that the immune response that is induced is really durable and is a potent immune response. So studying proteins allows us to do that. Engineering proteins allows us to make them into better immunogens. And an example where that is being done is the respiratory syncytial virus. DNA vaccines have been very much in the news with COVID-19, and DNA vaccines are used not only for infectious diseases but also for cancer. What you do here is identify the sequence that is responsible for an immunogen, inject that into a person so that when the DNA gets inside a cell, it uses the host cell as a factory to make the antigen. That is then released outside, and you get the generation of a protective immune response by the immune system of the host. This works really well for viruses and cancer. And the company shown here, Inovio, is going into phase 2 trials now for a SARS-CoV-2 vaccine. We've also heard about RNA vaccines, and here RNA vaccines act very much like the DNA vaccines in using the cell as a factory to make the proteins that induce the immune response. It's just that when you deliver RNA, that acts directly as the message, whereas in the case of DNA, it has to induce an mRNA within the cell. So these are the new technologies that are available for making vaccines and making them very quickly. And why is it important to make vaccines quickly? If you look at Ebola, Ebola was a disease that affected just 30,000 people in 2014. And the World Bank estimates that Ebola cost the world $4 billion US in direct costs, but it was 54 billion US dollars in total costs. It's been estimated that SARS-CoV-2, which is unlike Ebola, which was an epidemic, here we have a pandemic, and it's been estimated that the costs of SARS-CoV-2 is 200 billion US dollars per month. And we are now in the 5th, almost 6th month of this pandemic. So in response to Ebola, the Coalition for Preparedness for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations was established. This is called CEPI. And the idea of CEPI was to accelerate the development of vaccines against emerging infectious diseases and make sure that these vaccines were available to populations that needed them. CEPI started only 2 years ago and identified certain pathogens that it was going to work on, Lassa, MERS, and Nipah initially. But very importantly, CEPI decided to focus on disease X. Disease X being a disease where you don't know where it will come, when it will come, but you have to be ready to respond very quickly. So for CEPI, they decided that they would ask for technologies that would allow for that rapid response to a pathogen. And when SARS coronavirus 2 came along, CEPI was ready, and the first 4 vaccine candidates for SARS-CoV-2 were funded in January 2020. Now there are 9 different projects that are being supported by CEPI, and CEPI has been asked to lead the global effort for vaccine development, whether it is vaccines that they support directly or not. CEPI has also been part of getting a vaccine licensed for Ebola. It didn't exist when the first vaccine trials were conducted, but by 2019, a vaccine had been licensed. Now, where are we today with vaccines for SARS-CoV-2? I will be very brief here. These are the major players. There are about 130, some people say almost 200 projects that are looking at vaccines. There are some very major companies, Johnson & Johnson, Sanofi Pasteur, Merck, etc., that are looking at vaccines. and there are a number of small companies as well. What I'm showing you here in red are the various kinds of candidates that are being developed by Indian companies. And as you can see here, every class of vaccine candidate, there is an Indian company that is working on it. So this is a time when the Indian industry has really stepped up and is doing its best to try and get vaccines made for us and for the world as quickly as possible. Now, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about the Indian vaccine industry. It really started in a sense with smallpox, where there was a demonstration of inoculation against smallpox in 1767. And subsequently, smallpox vaccines started to be made in India in 1880, and other vaccines were added after that. Most of these vaccines were being made for British soldiers and for Indian recruits into the army and other armed forces. And the institutes initially established were all governmental institutes, but subsequently we have had a lot of entry of the private sector. Now, we have many, many manufacturers in the country, but what I'd like to focus on is the fact that India is, in terms of global market share, it provides the most number of common vaccines that are used in immunization programs. These tend to be very high volume products, but in terms of market value, they are relatively small, about 2% of the global market for vaccines in terms of value is in India, despite the fact that we have almost 18% of the world's population. So that means that we are using a lot of inexpensive vaccines, but the new technologies of vaccines are not so widely available in the country. That's why there is a huge amount of excitement about the new technologies that have been brought in for SARS-CoV-2. I'd just like to tell you about what the Indian vaccine industry can do. So if you look at sub-Saharan Africa, until about 2000, Sub-Saharan Africa was known as the meningitis belt, and that was because every year there would be outbreaks of meningitis A. And PATH, which is an NGO, and Serum Institute came together in the early 2000s and decided that they were going to make a vaccine for Sub-Saharan Africa. So they made a freeze-dried polysaccharide of N-meningitidase group A conjugated to tetanus toxoid, and they were able to sell this at a price of 50 cents a dose, whereas other vaccines for the same target were being sold for $50 a dose. So you can imagine what a difference this made. It allowed for countries to introduce the vaccine, and shown here is the results of that immunization in 3 countries, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. Immunizing the sub-Saharan Africa belt wiped out meningitis A from that area. So that is the Menafrivac story. Vaccines have been able to transform public health in the 20th century, and now we have vaccines for both communicable and non-communicable diseases. If you think about India, what can we do? Where can we add value, particularly for SARS-CoV-2? We actually make more vaccines than any other country in the world. So we could potentially make new vaccines. We could manufacture for other vaccine manufacturers, or we could do what is the last step in the process, which is fill finish, get it into vials so that it can be distributed to the world. The SARS-CoV-2 is not the only disease that needs a vaccine. we could have vaccines for every stage and every age: infants and children, adolescents, adults, the elderly, pregnant women. This is called a life course approach, and there are a number of diseases that we could be preventing in this kind of approach that we are not currently doing. We could also think about vaccines as being a societal tool for addressing certain issues that relate to poverty or to chronic diseases, for example. So there are huge opportunities for vaccines to play a major role in the 21st century. If you look at the global goals for sustainable development, every goal that you think of, vaccines could potentially play a role. Just taking the example of goal 1, which is no poverty. If you think about it, an immunized, healthy population can be very productive. That leads to a strong economy, and a strong economy leads to an alleviation of poverty. So I hope that we will, in India, continue to work towards preventing disease in our populations and contribute to the world for the prevention of disease as well. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for this talk, ma'am. It is really detailed and gives us a very good view of the situation. I'm very happy to now introduce our chief guest of the day, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar. His enthusiasm and zeal is a true inspiration for many. Professor Tankeshwar Kumar is the Vice Chancellor, Guru Jambheshwar University of Science and Technology, Hisar, since 2015. He is UGC Professor in Physics and Director, Abdul Kalam Computer Center, Punjab University, currently on leave. He is patron Vigyan Bharati Hisar, Haryana, member Executive Council, Deen Bandhu Chotu Ram University of Science and Technology, Muthal, member Academic Council of CEC, UGC India, member Executive Council of Haryana, member Vishwakarma Skill University, Palwal. He has received various awards and honors such as Vidyasagar Award by the Indian Institute of Oriental Heritage in 2017, Lifetime Achievement Award by Society of Analytical Chemists, Chairman of Committee for Preparing Calendar and Framework for First Skill University of Haryana, Appreciation Award by Federation of Corrugated Boxes Manufacturers, Higher Education Leadership Award by Digital Learning, IBush Award by Amity University, Vijay Sri Award member, National Academy of Sciences, India, first UGC professor in the country under FRP Associateship of ICTP, Italy. He has worked as research leader at Abdus Salam ICTP, Italy Planning Board, YMCA University of Science and Technology, Faridabad, member Board of Governors IIT Sonipat, Chairman Committee for Student Selection in Haryana, and Chairman member of NAC peer teams from time to time. I request you, sir, to please share your keynote address with us. Sir, please.
Thank you, Shukra. First of all, I thank the organizers for inviting me to be part of this valedictory function. Honorable Professor Mahesh Verma ji, Vice Chancellor, Guru Indraprastha University, and our today's speaker was Professor Gagandeep Kang. It was really very, energetic to listen to her, and it was really appreciable. And Professor Shruti Aggarwal, the Dean of the School of Basic Sciences and Applied Sciences, GGS Indraprastha University. So it is really a time, where when we are thinking differently. This is a COVID-19 time, and we are really setting up and saying the new normals. We started new words and new normals, and we are organizing this seminar on role of science, technology, and innovation in the current scenario. And I was just thinking that what it should have been, the innovation, technology, and science. This is a time when we should really react to it, that we have the challenges, and these challenges need to be converted into asset to the opportunity. So that the first thing is we should convert whatever we have, the science available and technology available. We should go for the innovation, as there are many people, where this pandemic is affecting the people, and we should, as you said, the technology can only prevent this, growth of this pandemic, and so it is very important that we immediately rush to the innovation in the sense that we convert our scientific ideas into the product which can help the people immediately, right? And that we have the enough technology available to us where you can take it to the human health care. As Professor Gagandeep Kang was saying that health is economy also. Health is money also, right? So money can also lead to the better health. So it's a time that we should look for health care. Health care is very, very important, and we all this science and technology people should go towards the health care, and we should use a different kind of technology for it. We have enough science, including, let's say, as I said, we miss certain technologies in our country. I would say, as a man of physics, we missed semiconductor technology. We could not produce IC. But this is a time where we can go for human healthcare products, where we can use over all the technology available, and we can all use the artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence can also be used for the discoveries of vaccine and things like that, and you have the machine learning, and these are the subjects, which will be the world will be using, right? So machine learning, artificial intelligence, and these technology we will be using. And firstly, we should use these technology for preventing this pandemic. We have been, we have already, countries have produced artificial, and we have Arogya Setu, and various applications have come up in the recent time, and we have our IITs has also contributed in let's say, developing the ventilators and so on, right? So we were not having the PPE, and we're not having enough masks. Or the country has come up towards the self-reliance, that we should have this, all the things should be made by our people, and through that, that can only come through our innovations, right? We are now, our students, I will say, our teachers are moving toward the innovation.
Yeah, he has joined back.
We cannot hear them.
So he has joined back. I think there was some
Okay.
network problem.
Yeah, there was some, it was muted. Now I can, yeah. So, this is a time that when we say that we can be more innovative, I will say, innovative, and we should bring out the product through the innovation. And, as the country is, as said, we are going to for the self-reliance. The first, I will say, there is a field in which we should jump is the healthcare, right? In the healthcare, we can contribute a lot, and we are capable of doing it. As you know, we had our old system where we had our Ayurvedic system where we say that, okay, we can combine our modern technology system and modern this allopathy system along with the Ayurveda and things like that. That could be kind of innovative, so where we can guide the world also. There's people are fighting for it. I see some of the countries, we have where we say that we have more number of deaths. If you count, if the count the number of deaths, that's more maximum in the advanced country. The number, even the percentage is more. I will say percentage is more in the advanced countries. So there is something, that has to be seen in the healthcare, that we can immediately plug in, that we should immediately go for the innovative products, and we should put maximum of energy towards it. So that is, that's what I wanted to say, that we are, we go for small things. Sometimes we say that, okay, we have something developed, and we go for its paper, research paper and things like that. We should, we as a, administrator, or we should as a real scientist, or you say those who are professors, and now we should go toward, okay, for developing some products. I will say, we people say that we have innovative ideas, but the ideas have no meaning. Everybody can have the idea. Idea can, unless you convert into a marketplace, unless you say that it is reach the market, we don't say it's innovation. So we have to now think towards that, where we can, I will say that it's a new normal. I will say that we are to really think in a different way, in a new way, that our scientists, we say we have enough science, let's convert into innovation, right? So the innovation and incubation, and these are the things which are going to matter. And I just want to give just one message, this, that we are to go for and the technology, and then maybe think of the science. In the history, if you go, I think the technology came the first. It's not the science which came first. The technology which came the first, and technology came only through the innovation. So I say that it is now the same time which I have come, that we in a new normal, that we have to be more innovative, that we have to bring new things which can which can stop this pandemic, and obviously help in developing the new vaccine, and maybe we can use artificial intelligence and things like that. So with these words, I once again thanks all the to Indraprastha University. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, sir, for your impressive, informative, and inspiring thoughts. Thank you, sir.
I would like to request Vice Chancellor sir to please say few words and share your ideas in the current session.
Thank you, Shruti. You always make me work very hard. Shruti is a very hard taskmaster. So, like a student, she will make me jot down everything. So, and I have to abide by whatever she says. But one thing I want to tell you, that today's session I really enjoyed, and for two reasons. One, Madam Kang has given us a lot of information which probably we were not familiar with regarding vaccine, and Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, in a very simple and in a very simple and a practical way, gave us importance about technology, science and technology and innovation. So let us see what Professor Gagandeep Kang has told us about vaccine. And she said that vaccines have been around for more than 200 years. And when there were no vaccine, there were a lot of deaths. And she said, gave example of smallpox, and how the vaccine word came from vacca. Vacca means cow. And it was, great Edward Jenner's who did a historic experiment on a cow, and he inoculated a child, and then he infested himself with smallpox and tried this, and he found he did not get a smallpox. So that was this thing, and till 1800, the vaccines were very crudely discovered, and it took many years, for smallpox, which was actually the genesis of the vaccine to be eradicated. And I think we haven't seen a fresh case from 1975. I think she said that from 1975 was the last case. And she also gave us differences between vaccine and drugs, how vaccine have to be given to the healthy people, drugs have to be given to the diseased people, safe, efficacy of them, especially it had to be very safe and effective for infants and pregnant ladies. And also it's given once or a few times as compared to drugs, which is to be continuously, and vaccine also have to be cheap. And she said drugs, cancer, some of the drugs like cancer drugs are very expensive. So, and also gave us some insights about vaccine development. It starts from academia primarily, and then the industry takes over, and different phases of vaccine development, all the 4 phases. Phase 1 is where safety and immunogenicity in animals. Phase 2 is for checking the dose and schedule. Phase 3 is actually when the vaccine has been prepared, how effective it is, how safe it is, and phase 4 is a post-licensure in a real setting, how the vaccine is behaving. So, and she said there are a lot of vaccine available today. We only think the vaccine is only for viral diseases, but she said no, vaccine also available for bacterial infections also, and almost 2 to 3 million deaths every year are saved by vaccine. So, and she gave an example of measles, which was endemic, and meningitis endemic in New Zealand, measles in US, and how the vaccine tried to control of it. What is the value of a vaccine? Value of vaccine is very profound, very huge, because it causes prevention. It also promotes health, and not only that, indirectly we have so many other benefits, economic benefits. When somebody is living longer, she gave an example that if somebody is living 10 years longer, there is a 1% per capita growth. So contribution. So vaccines not only just bring down the morbidity and mortality, but also brings so many benefits in other spheres. And what is the technology available today? Today, till 1950, they were very, very, very basic, like isolation, inactivity or attenuated of the bacteria or virus, and then injecting it. But I think it is 1950 onwards, we have so many new technologies of developing vaccines. She said self-culture, recombinant, conjugated, adjuvant, structural vaccinology, synthetic biology, reverse vaccinology, all that, where a lot of gene sequence is there, and how, vaccines are developed, why DNA vaccines, RNA vaccines, all that, different ways how it is done. And she also gave an example of Ebola, where there were just only 30,000 people were infected, but what a profound economic loss it had, almost costed for 54 billion US dollars. So, and then that was the basis of forming CEPI, CEPI, a coalition, which is not only be always prepared to come up anything which is happening, outbreak, and they also supporting a lot of studies. So today, where are we today? About the COVID vaccine. And then she said about a lot of multinational companies, a lot of Indian companies which are into it, and Indian vaccine industry has really come a long way from 1880, when it was first time when smallpox vaccines were prepared, and it was being given to the soldiers. And today we are using a lot of new technology and how to develop it. You see, and another thing which he said, that today vaccines are available not only for communicable disease, but NCDs also. And NCDs are a very big problem, all over the world. So India is a big manufacturer, and it will and vaccines are societal tools to fix the problems of society. Very profound statement she said that all the sustainable development goals, 17 SDGs, she said the vaccine will be impacting every goal, directly or indirectly. So let us contribute to prevent disease and also contribute, nurture and promote the growth, not only in our country but all over the world. That was the message she gave us. And then we had Professor Tankeshwar Kumar. He says today's time is very different, time of a different thinking. We really need to react to it. Challenges have to be converted to opportunities. Science be converted to innovation. Technology can only help prevent the disease. He said, if there is any hope, it's only technology. Idea can be converted into product via science and technology, so that helping healthcare and money indirectly. Let us use the existing science and technology to harness it. He also mentioned about artificial intelligence, machine learning technology has to be used for prevention of Arogya Setu. He said IITs are making ventilators. So self-reliance and innovation is the key to move forward. This is a time we need to be extra innovative. He said we have innovation, but we need to be a little more than normal, so that we can prepare products in healthcare and we are capable of blending the traditional and a modern medicine, Ayurveda, all those Ayush and modern medicine. So let us channelize all our energies to make it happen. Ideas must reach the market via innovation and in a new way, he said. And innovation and incubation is the way to move forward. Technology came before science. He said technology came before science, and innovation brought the technology to the forefront. Thank you very much, Shruti. That was a lot of information to this webinar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Like always, very beautifully summarized. I thank you for your insightful inputs. It's a privilege to have you, sir. Thank you. I now request Dr. Gulshan Dhamija, my co-faculty coordinator for this webinar series, to please deliver the vote of thanks. Dr. Gulshan, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Shipra ma'am also said, science knows no country because knowledge belongs to humanity and is the torch which illuminates the world. On behalf of University School of Basic and Applied Sciences, Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, my heartfelt greetings to all the esteemed guests present here and heartwarming compliments to all the deans, directors, faculty members, and participants present digitally. I extend my sincere thanks to our respected chief guest, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Guru Gobind Singh, Guru Jambeshwar University of Science and Technology, Hisar. Sir, your invaluable contribution to the field of education as well as administration is remarkable. Thank you so much, sir, for delivering such a wonderful talk on our title, Role of Science, Technology and Innovation in the Current Scenario. Special thanks to our guest of honor, Professor Gagandeep Kang, Executive Director, Translational Health Science Technology Institute. All of us are indeed thrilled to have such a woman who was elected as the first Indian woman scientist as Royal Society Fellow. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sparing your valuable time for today's valedictory session. I may surely fail to describe our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Padam Shri, Professor Dr. Mahesh Verma. Sir, your impeccable source of energy has brought life to our imagination. We dare to dream because of incredible energy and dedication. Thank you, sir, for your endless support. जैसा कि हमारे आदरणीय कुलपति महोदय ने बोला है कि दिल की खुशी से दुनिया की हर मुश्किल आसान हो जाती है, तो मेरा भी आप सभी से ये निवेदन है कि दिल से खुश रहें ताकि हम भी दुनिया की हर मुश्किल को आसानी से पार कर सकें. Thank you, sir, for such a motivating words. Special thanks to our registrar, Ravi Dadish, sir, for all kind of support. I extend My heartfelt gratitude to our Director, Research Consultancy, Professor Avinash Sharma, sir, for giving useful inputs throughout the webinar. I am highly delighted to express my gratitude to all deans, directors, faculty members of our university. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the faculty members of USBAS who were behind the success of this webinar. I am highly obliged by the presence of our Dean, Professor Shruti Aggarwal. Thank you, ma'am, for your support, encouragement, and motivating us with your presence and enriching us with your knowledge. A very special thanks to my fellow coordinators for this webinar, Dr. S. Nileshwar and Dr. Shipra Mittal. It was not easy to manage the whole webinar without them. They worked so hard to make the event successful. Last but not least, I'm very thankful to our Diamond Student Coordinators, Amar, Vishnu, Mukesh, Ritesh, and Yugam. They really worked so hard day and night to organize this webinar. And special thanks to all the participants without whom this webinar would not have been fruitful. Thank you all. Namaste.
The valedictory session has now come to its end. We are highly indebted to our distinguished guests and speakers for giving such good, popular, informative, and thought-provoking talks. We thank all the participants for their time and understanding. The participants shall receive the link for feedback form and their e-certificates shortly. It was a great pleasure in organizing and hosting this event for you all. We look forward to many more occasions like this. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, fight Corona and win over Corona. Jai Hind.